Hey guys, good morning and happy Monday. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. Welcome to our reading lesson for the day. It was nice to see everyone on Zoom this morning, for those of you that could make it. But today we're going to continue talking about nonfiction. We are done talking about our nonfiction text structures, and we're moving on to being word detectives. So today we're going to learn how to be a word detective. And what that means is you're going to be learning how to look at a word that you don't know and determine what that word means, or find out what that word means using lots of different strategies. So I'm going to share my screen with you, and I want us to go ahead and look at some of these strategies, and then we're going to practice them today. So the first thing you're going to do is I want you to hold up 3 fingers, because there are 3 main strategies we're going to talk about today. And with these strategies, as we talk about them, we're going to put a finger down each time so that you guys are following along with me, reading along the screen with me as well. So hold up those three fingers, and we're going to become word detectives together. The first strategy that you can use, if you come across a word that you don't know, the first thing you can do is use your context clues. So go ahead and put that first finger down. Think to yourself, you've heard this word before. What does context clues mean? Okay, so context clues are the clues around you in a story. Those can be pictures, those can be words around you in the book, those can be sentences, it can be anything like a prefix or a suffix, anything that could give you a clue. Okay, if you're a detective, what would you use as a clue to figure this word out? So those are your context clues. If context clues don't help you, you can use another strategy, and that is background knowledge. So go ahead and put down another finger. Using your background knowledge means using the knowledge that's already in your head and that you already know about the subject that you're reading about. So let's say that I'm reading about Ferris wheels. I can use my background knowledge of what a Ferris wheel is to figure out what a word is that I don't know about Ferris wheels. Think to yourself, what do you know about the topic already? What have you read about the topic in this book so far? What have you seen in the news or seen about the topic on maybe YouTube, or maybe heard from a friend about this topic? So any background knowledge is what you already have in your head. Now we have one more strategy that you can use to figure out an unknown word, and that is the easiest one, to look in the glossary. A lot of your nonfiction books, they actually have glossaries in the back, and that's the mini dictionary is what we like to call it. So you flip to the back of the book and you can look for the actual word and definition in the back of the book. So 3 main strategies you can use to find out the meaning of an unknown word. Number 1, context clues. 2, background knowledge. 3, glossary. So any of those 3 you can use. Now today we're going to read a very special book, and we are going to actually be using those fix-up strategies, is what I like to call them, to become word detectives. This book is very special to me because it is about someone that I admire a lot, and her name is Malala Yousufzai. Malala is a very special young lady, and when she was just a couple years older than you guys, so when she was in about 5th grade, she experienced something really, really wild in her life, and she helped to change the world because of this experience. So we're going to read a book that she wrote, actually, and it's called Malala's Magic Pencil. After we read the story, we are going to watch a little brain pop video about Malala and her life. But before we begin, I want to warn you, Malala's story is not an easy one to hear. Malala's story can be sad at times. Also, Malala is from another country. Malala is from somewhere called Pakistan, and we're going to see in the book and in the video where Pakistan is. Pakistan is a country in the Middle East, and in Pakistan they speak another language. So you're going to hear a lot of words in the story that you don't know, that you're unfamiliar with. But as we read those words, we're going to use context clues, background knowledge, and we don't have a glossary for this book, so we can't use that glossary, but we're going to use anything else that we can figure out to help us understand what this word means. So let's go ahead and start reading. This book is called Malala's Magic Pencil, and there it is right in front of you. I'm so excited to share this with you. Here we go. Do you believe in magic? When I was younger, I used to watch a TV show about a boy who had a magic pencil. If he was hungry, he drew a bowl of curry and it appeared. I want to stop right there, guys. I see a word that you might not be familiar with. Do you know what curry means? So if you knew what it meant, that means that you could use your background knowledge to figure it out. If you don't know what it means, let's look at our context clues. We know that if he was hungry, he could draw this. So that means it must be something that you eat when you're hungry. We know that it goes in a bowl, and I don't see it in the pictures here. So all we know is that curry is something that you eat that goes in a bowl. Now, using my background knowledge, I've eaten curry before, and I know that curry can be spicy. There's different levels of spiciness with curry, and it's a type of food that a lot of people eat in the Middle East and in the eastern part of the world. And so this is something that they eat for meals regularly. Let's keep reading. If he and his friends were in danger, he drew a police officer. The boy was a little hero, always protecting people who needed help. How I wanted a magic pencil too. If I had a magic pencil, I would use it to put a lock on my door so my brothers couldn't bother me. Stop time so I could sleep an extra hour every morning. Erase the smell of the trash dump near our house. And I would use it to make other people happy. I would draw the most beautiful dresses in the world for my mother, the best buildings in the valley for my father, so he could open many schools where children would study for free, a proper ball so my brothers and I no longer had to play with an old sock stuffed with rubbish. I see another word that we might not be familiar with. Let's use some fix-up strategies to figure it out. The word is rubbish. Do you guys know what rubbish means? If you're not familiar with that word, let's look at the pictures. We know that Malala had to make a soccer ball with an old sock stuffed with rubbish. So we know that rubbish is something that we could fit into an old sock or stuff into an old sock. Now, we also know that Malala lived next to a trash heap. So she lived next to a dump. So I'm thinking that she took some things from the dump and she put them inside of an old sock to make the soccer ball. So that's what rubbish is. Rubbish is trash. Okay, let's keep reading. Oop, get my page to turn. There we go. One day, I was throwing away potato peels and eggshells at the dump. I was wrinkling my nose and swatting away flies and making sure I didn't step on anything dirty in my nice shoes when I saw a girl about my age sorting trash into piles. Nearby, boys were fishing for metal scraps using magnets on strings. When my father returned home from work, I told him what I'd seen. It made him sad. Abba, I said. Guys, what does Abba mean? I wonder. Think to yourself, use your context clues, and try and figure out what Abba could mean. This is what she called her dad. Right, I think that Abba means dad. It's just another cultural word for dad. So we talked about cultural words this year, but Abba is one of those cultural words. Yes, Johnny, he said back. I always liked when he called me dear one. Okay, so I see one more word that you might not be familiar with. It's Johnny. Okay, the word Johnny. Let's keep reading that sentence and let's use our context clues to figure out what it means. It says, yes, Johnny, he said back. I always liked when he called me dear one. So I'm guessing that Johnny means dear one in this language that they speak. So this is another cultural word that means dear one. So she's calling him father, he's calling her dear one. Why haven't I seen that girl in my class? Because, he said, But he didn't finish right away. Because, Johnny, in our country, not everyone sends their daughters to school, and some children must work to support their family. Those boys will sell the metal scraps they find. If they went to school, their families would go hungry. School was my favorite place, but I had never considered myself lucky to be able to go. I want us to think to ourselves, do you guys think you're lucky to go to school? I think a lot of times we kind of groan and mumble about having to go to school. Even now, having to wake up and Zoom with each other or watch the YouTube videos. A lot of times we complain about it. And we're like, oh, school is boring. Or, oh, I'd rather be outside playing. But many children in this world don't get to go to school. They're either not allowed to go to school or they're unable to because they have to work for their families. So I think it's interesting to hear this perspective because we're learning that some students think that you're lucky to be able to go to school because they don't have that opportunity. And this is a true story. And a lot of the people in Malala's town, they didn't have this opportunity because they were either working to make money for their family when they were 6 and 7, 8 years old, or they weren't allowed to go to school. Let's keep reading. My father had always said, Malala will live free as a bird. Now I wondered how free I'd truly be. That night, I thought about families who didn't have enough food and the girl who couldn't go to school. And even about how when I was older, I would be expected to cook and clean for my brothers. Because where I came from, many girls weren't allowed to become what they dreamed of. I knew then that if I had the magic pencil, I would use it to draw a better world, a peaceful world. First, I would erase war, poverty, and hunger. Then I would draw girls and boys together as equals. I see another word that you might not be familiar with. That word is poverty. Poverty. Use your context clues and see, what do you think poverty could mean? So I noticed that war is something that can hurt people. It's something that's dangerous. I noticed that hunger is something that can hurt people. Okay, it can be dangerous as well. And so I'm thinking that poverty is probably something that can hurt people and that could be dangerous as well. And I'm looking at the picture and I noticed these buildings, they're falling apart. It doesn't look like these people have a lot of money in these pictures. And so I'm guessing that poverty means poor or means not having a lot of money. So she's wanting to take away people that have to deal with being poor. She wants to give them money and she wants to enrich their lives so they're not having to struggle anymore and deal with the suffering or the pain of being poor and not being able to feed themselves or to provide for their families. Over the next few years, instead of wishing for a magic pencil every night, I worked hard in school every day. I wanted to be one of the top students in my class. So I notice in this picture that all of these people sitting here are girls. So this must be an all-girls school is what I'm inferring. But soon, powerful and dangerous men declared that girls were forbidden from attending school. They walked the streets of our city now, and they carried weapons. So guys, I see another word that we might not know, and that's forbidden. Forbidden. If they are saying that girls are forbidden to go to school, what do you think forbidden could mean? I think that it means that they're no longer allowed to go to school. Okay, let's keep reading. Oops, there we go. One by one, girls stopped coming to school. Abba, where are all the students? They don't feel safe here anymore, Johnny. How could a few men stop all the girls in our valley from going to school? If more people knew what was happening to us, I thought they might help. Wishing wasn't enough. Someone needed to speak out. Why not me? I wrote about what it felt like to be scared to walk to school and how some of my friends had moved away because of the threat they faced in our city. I wrote about how much I loved school and how proud I was of my uniform. So guys, remember, Malala is just a couple years older than you, and she was doing this, writing for a worldwide newspaper. Once I started writing, I didn't stop. I wrote speeches and traveled around my country, sharing my story. I even talked to a reporter from a famous international newspaper. People actually wanted to learn about my life. I spoke for all the girls in my valley who couldn't speak for themselves. My voice became so powerful that the dangerous men tried to silence me, but they failed. And now my voice is louder than ever, louder because people have joined me, and together we make a chorus, standing up for what we believe. We raise our voices for those in need, help people in danger, even if they are an ocean away, and think of the world as a family. I see another word on this page you might not know, and that's the word chorus. So it says, let's look at the context clues. Together, so not just her, but together as a group, they make a chorus. So what do you think a chorus is? Looking at the picture and looking at that sentence, together we make a chorus. I think that a chorus is a group of people that come together, and they either talk or sing or use their voices together. Do you still believe in magic? I do. I wrote alone in my room, but people all over the world were reading my story. Millions now know it and help me spread my message of hope. I had at last found the magic I was looking for, in my words and in my work. I am Malala. I've always wished I could make the world a more peaceful place. And every day I work to make my wish come true. One child, one teacher, one book, and one pen can change the world. So here's some more information about Malala. This is a true story that she actually did experience. And I have a little brain pop video to show you. Now, there are some moments in the brain pop video that can be very sad, but this is a true story about Malala not being allowed to go to school and her standing up for what she believed in. And I think it's a really powerful story. And it's also interesting to hear this perspective right now when it's so hard for us to wake up and want to go to school online and want to do things and kind of see what's good about it. It's hard to see that right now. But if we look at this perspective and we looked at Malala and what she went through just to be able to go to the school, period, I think it kind of makes us realize how lucky we are to still be able to do this, even though we can't meet together, still be able to have school and it be allowed. So I'm going to show you this video. It is on Brain Pop. Let's go ahead and make it bigger. And you can enjoy. Oh, let's refresh it. It just timed out. All right, let's try that again. You are my best friend. You're my best friend. We're together.
Just a few more minutes. Dear Tim and Moby, school isn't always awesome, but I can't imagine being banned from going. Can you tell me a little bit more about Malala? Thanks, Ida. Malala Yousufzai is a renowned human rights activist. She works to improve conditions for women and children around the world. She's given voice to millions of kids struggling against poverty and mistreatment. Her fight to improve educational opportunities earned her the 2014 Nobel Peace Prize. Yeah, Malala is the youngest Nobel laureate ever. At 17, she received the same honor as Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa, and the Dalai Lama. all people who made the world more just and humane. From an early age, Malala shared her father's love of learning. The two often stayed up late discussing books and politics. Zahuddin operated schools across Pakistan's Swat Valley. The area was plagued by unrest spilling over from Afghanistan. For decades, different factions struggled for control of Afghanistan. In the 1990s, a radical group called the Taliban seized power. They're religious fundamentalists with a super strict, warped view of Islam. They even supported the terrorists responsible for the 9/11 attacks. The American military response destabilized the region even more. The mid-2000s were a pretty scary time for Malala's family. Armed conflict spilled over the border into Pakistan. The Taliban tried to ban television and music in the Swat Valley. They also barred girls from attending school. Anyone who spoke out against them could be kidnapped, tortured, and killed. Zahuddin and Malala refused to let the Taliban define Islam and devalue education. So they worked with the BBC to launch a blog in 2009. Just 11 years old, Malala wrote about the harsh restrictions faced under Taliban rule and shared fears that schools would be shut down or destroyed. To protect her identity, she used a pseudonym, a fake name. Well, the Taliban was fighting to retain control of the area. They launched attacks near Malala's hometown, forcing more than 1 million people to flee. Malala was sent to live with relatives in the countryside. Meanwhile, Zahuddin traveled to the region's capital, where he openly criticized the Taliban. His bravery inspired Malala to speak out about educational rights. She was the focus of a New York Times documentary about Taliban intolerance. She also did interviews with TV shows and newspapers. World leaders began to take notice. Schools for girls and women were named in Malala's honor. She was awarded the International Children's Peace Prize. In Pakistan, she received the country's first National Youth Peace Award. More and more people were paying attention to Malala, including the Taliban. Fearing her growing influence, they set out to assassinate her. Actually, Moby, they almost succeeded. In October 2012, gunmen ambushed her school bus and left her seriously wounded. Malala lay in a coma for weeks. There was a global outcry. Leaders denounced the shooting and praised Malala's courage. Numerous countries offered her free medical aid. So her family moved to England. The following year, Malala returned to school and has been earning A's ever since. Actually, the shooting only increased her resolve. On her 16th birthday, she spoke at the United Nations. She called on governments to guarantee schooling for all kids and to stop the violence women face just for trying to work and learn. Winning the Nobel Prize the next year gave her a huge boost. Her organization, the Malala Fund, helps children in poverty around the world. They've built schools in war-torn areas of the Middle East and fought for the safe return of African girls kidnapped by terrorists. There's lots you can do to help. You can sign her online petition to provide free schooling for all girls. You can raise awareness by writing to your local paper. And if you're on social media, you can always do this.
Wow, that was a really, really powerful video. I think it's just amazing, you know, however sad that may be that Malala experienced that. I think it's amazing. Oops, trying to get it to go off. There we go. I think it's amazing that she still stood up for what she believed in, and that was education. She believed that everyone should be allowed to go to school. She believed that everyone should be treated equally, whether you're a girl or a boy. And she believed that everyone had the right to learn. And she fought for that even at your age. She wasn't scared. She risked her life. She almost lost her life because she fought for what she believed in. And I think it's a very powerful message. I hope today that as we were reading, you noticed that there were a lot of cultural words that you weren't familiar with, but you can use those fix-up strategies to help you determine what those words mean. So remember, you want to use your context clues, use your background knowledge, and if it's available, use a glossary. So today for your assignment in Seesaw, you are going to be doing a little assignment on being a word detective. So I'm going to share with you. It looks like this, and it says reading 427, what does it mean? When you click on that assignment, there's a template that you can use, and you are supposed to find 3 unfamiliar words in a nonfiction book of your choice. Tell me which strategy you used to figure out what they meant. Write down the clues that you used to help you, and then what you actually think the word means. So you can get onto Epic and choose any book that you would like, and you just need to find 3 unknown words in that book, and then use the fix-up strategies to help you figure out what they mean. All right, if you have any questions, feel free to email me. I hope you guys enjoyed this lesson today. Malala is someone that's very important to me and that I think is just a really extraordinary young person. And I just hope that you were inspired by her as well. I hope you guys have a great afternoon. See ya.